All right. So we were talking about the Kazakhstan's role as a responsible nuclear weapon state. So Kazakhstan became a nuclear weapon state soon after 91, and they became overnight. It became a nuclear weapon state. So that was, you know, situation for Kazakhstan to tackle. So why Kazakhstan did not keep these nuclear weapons? Russia had no issue with that. Um, there are two reasons. One, that a country acquired nuclear weapon for global status, for regional hegemony, for example. But if you look at Kazakhstan, they were landlocked country, so no global ambitions. And of course, surrounded by very powerful countries, already nuclear weapon states, China, Russia. And so it was not that, there was no requirement of nuclear weapon when you are sharing border with friendly countries. Like if you got a friendly neighborhood, why would you acquire nuclear weapons? We Pakistanis acquired nuclear weapon after 1971. Why? Because we had wars with India and our survival was at stake. So you acquire nuclear weapons for global hegemony, for regional hegemony. If that issue is not there, then you acquire nuclear weapon for security because you are facing imminent threat to your sovereignty, your territorial integrity. But in this case, both these issues were not there. अब तीसरे नंबर पे if you acquire nuclear weapon, फिर भी so definitely you need to take care of those nuclear weapons. You need to maintain high security for those nuclear weapons, and you need to protect it from any terrorist attack or any any insider threat. For example, Pakistan got about 160, 170 odd nuclear weapons, and we got very limited nuclear sites as well. But to protect all these assets, we have established a separate, you can say, independent, you can say, organization which is called Strategic Plan Division. Now, Strategic Plan Division, they got a force of about 20,000 trained people who know how to handle nuclear material or nuclear weapons. So Pakistan is spending a lot of money on that particular thing, for the security of the nuclear installations, for the safety and security of their engineers, or the scientists who are working there, or the staff who is associated with that. So you need to put a lot of effort and resources, of course. So why would Kazakhstan, do these type of things? They had no global ambitions, regional ambitions, and they had no issues with the regional security, regional countries, for example. Na Russia se koi issue hai, na China se, na Kyrgyzstan se, na Tajikistan se, na Uzbekistan se, na Turkmenistan se. So why would they get nuclear weapons? So that was the reason that they decided to close their nuclear sites by 1996. And they became the first country to abandon their nuclear weapons. And that was a huge effort by the by Kazakhstan. But in this particular scenario, the Americans helped them to overcome this threat. So Kazakhstan had about 1,400 Soviet strategic nuclear warheads. 1,400. आज दुनिया में Kazakhstan, अपना Russia, America, they possess collectively about 13,000 nuclear weapons. And other than that, like for example, Chinese got about 400 plus nuclear weapons. But Kazakhstan had 1,410 nuclear weapons, 3 times greater than or 4 times greater than the Chinese nuclear arsenal. So they were there on the Russian territory, Kazakhstan's territory, and there were many tactical nuclear weapons as well deployed on Kazakhstan, because they were in close proximity with the, you can say, European countries. Now, one of the Soviet Union's 2 major nuclear test sites, they were also there in this particular area, where the Russians carried out 460 nuclear tests. So these nuclear test sites are still there in Kazakhstan, but they are no more of use. Many tunnels which were there used for the nuclear testing and underground silos where the nuclear weapons are kept, they were destroyed with the support of America. So America provided about $240 million assistance to Kazakhstan's denuclearization efforts through non-Lugar Cooperative Threat Reduction Program. Non-Lugar, there were two senators, US senators, who actually carried out this program in which they decided that they are going to denuclearize Belarus, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, of course, and other countries, and because they were having these ex-Soviet nuclear weapons. So 180 nuclear tunnels, they were closed, completely sealed off, and almost half ton of weapon grade uranium was transferred to US in that particular process. So it was a huge effort by the Americans and other European countries. So they actually helped Kazakhstan, Belarus, and other countries like, for example, Ukraine, Albania, to overcome this particular threat, nuclear and chemical weapons. So other than that, if you look at Kazakhstan's nuclear weapon-related policies, so they are signatory to Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which clearly says that nuclear weapons would only be used, nuclear material, nuclear technology will only be used for peaceful purposes. And these countries will not develop more nuclear weapons, and they are not going to transfer their nuclear technology to other countries. At the moment, Russians are helping Kazakhstan to establish some nuclear reactors for civil use. So they can reduce their dependence on oil and gas, and they can convert their dependence on oil gas to nuclear. So the surplus oil and gas would be utilized by the Russians. So this is what the Russians are doing with Kazakhstan right now. So Kazakhstan is a responsible nuclear weapon state. It is signatory to NPT, and they are abide by that. Secondly, they also ratified the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, which talks about nuclear ban in the atmosphere, in the upper, you can say, space, and it is also banning the nuclear testing underwater. So, but you can carry out tests underground on land, but under this treaty, but you cannot have tests in the outer space and the atmosphere, and of course underwater. Secondly, it is also signatory to CTBT, which is a multilateral treaty, and that bans all testing of all sorts, all types, whether it is in the space, whether it is on land, underwater, or under, you can say underground. So it sees all testing, civil or military purposes. So Kazakhstan is signatory to that as well. Apart from that, Kazakhstan was also part of START 1, the first strategic arms reduction treaty between the Soviet Union and America. Under this particular treaty, Kazakhstan, of course, they had Soviet nuclear weapons, so they were reduced, and they also actively participated in that. Kazakhstan also ratified the Central Asia Nuclear Weapon Free Zone idea. Now, what is nuclear weapon free zone idea? The nuclear weapon free zone idea is that you decide that you are not going to have nuclear weapons in that particular region, whether it is Central Asia or any other region. So in Central Asia, we don't have nuclear weapons. So this is the reason that these countries have decided that they are not going to develop nuclear weapons. Obviously, they are landlocked countries. They don't have any security issues. They don't have any global or regional aspirations. But if you look at South Asia, Pakistan has offered South Asia nuclear weapon free zone many times over to India, but India rejected it. Pakistan believed that we don't want nuclear weapon in this region, but when it comes to security of Pakistan, obviously India is not ready to abandon these nuclear weapons, and India is not ready to sign or ratify this particular idea, or missile threat reduction treaty, which Pakistan always wanted to, because it is very risky to have nuclear weapons on your borders, because any accidental launch may start a war between these two countries. For example, recently Pakistan witnessed a very awkward situation when the Indian BrahMos hypersonic missile was accidentally launched, and it was